Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel and welcome back to my van. It's currently 85 degrees out and it's going to be in the 90s all week, but it fits with the theme to be in here and I kind of like it in here, so here I am. Today I'm going to be talking about my experiences living in this car in college. So just to start off the bat, what my car is, it's a 2014 Dodge Grand Caravan. I got it the spring before my last year of college. So I lived in my car at UC Santa Cruz from the fall of 2018 until the summer of 2019. And during that time, a lot went on, good and bad. I'm going to be talking about the practicalities of living in the car, you know, how I did my day-to-day. I'm going to be giving some stories about police abusing their authority and making threats that I think I'm pretty sure are illegal. I'm going to be talking about the university turning more and more into a corporation and the advanced surveillance that they began performing on homeless students and the issues around that. But, you know, for the most part, I'm just going to be talking about how I lived in a van, so that way anybody who is thinking of living in their car in college to save money, to not pay rent, can maybe learn something from this video. Okay, so I guess to start out the story, I should first say why I chose to live in a van. And there's kind of a lot of facets to my reasoning. For the most part, ever since one night when I was 16, where I just got rid of everything I owned and was like, I'm a minimalist now. I've been slowly downsizing everything in my life since then. Not really anymore, but like at the time I did. And so living in a van and not an apartment kind of makes sense to me because I don't really own a lot of things. So it's like I don't really need all that extra space. And then of course, you know, the big reason why is because I didn't want to pay rent. And in Santa Cruz, I'm pretty sure it's still going on, but especially when I was there, there's a really terrible housing crisis. The university keeps accepting more students than it can hold, more students than it could really offer classes to. All the classes are impacted. The housing's terrible. They turned all the doubles into triples. They're just throwing a bunch of beds in. I think they even had a separate corporation come and build on their property a year after I left to like rent out to students, which comes with its whole host of problems. But basically, I mean, I think even the city sued the school because they're like, you are bringing too many people into Santa Cruz. We have a housing crisis. What are you doing? But then also, of course, the skeevy landlords in the city of Santa Cruz knows that the influx of college-age kids who don't have much legal experience and don't really know what they're signing into on the leases, they know that they can exploit them pretty easily and make as much money as possible. They refuse to pass any sort of equitable housing laws. I mean, landlords can increase rent as much as they want. Basically, there's a whole host of problems, and I'm not going to get fully into it in this video. But basically what that means is there is a whole rise of students who are unable to find housing. It's a horrible crisis going on. But anyways, that's all going on. I don't want to have to try to find a place to live because the last place I lived was not great. I also felt pretty bad being a non-Santa Cruz native coming in, just, you know, taking up housing from local people who need it and just, you know, being a part of that. I was just like, fuck it, like I'd rather just live in my car. I'd rather have my own space and not have any roommates, that whole deal. And so I got a used car and I decked it out a little bit. Obviously, I don't live in here now, but this is where I lived. It's pretty spacious, it's pretty nice. So at the end of each school year, the list opens up for people trying to get parking permits. There's obviously way too many people who want parking permits for the amount of spaces that there are. But I was lucky enough to get an R permit, which if you're from Santa Cruz, you know the R permit allows you to park in two parking lots on campus, and you can park there for 24 hours a day. So I was able to park there, and then I was able to sleep there and everything. Not, you know, you're not supposed to for whatever reason, even though your parking permit allows you to park there for 24 hours, so what does it matter if someone's sleeping in their car or not? But you're not really allowed to, but that's what I did. A lot of the other people I was friends with lived in different cars, smaller cars, and a lot of them parked off campus and took the metro bus onto campus every day because they didn't have a parking permit. If you're not able to park on campus, take a cruise around the area of the school you're thinking of going to, or if it's a school you go to, you probably already know. Take a look at the parking regulations and laws, and if there is ample parking that you could park at for free overnight and they don't charge you per hour like I had imagined that they would in LA and stuff like that, then definitely check that out. Find out how to get on the bus to campus, and then you should be good to go. And then another way I lucked out is my school does have a couple 24-hour bathrooms, so if needed in the middle of the night I could go to those. Though in all honesty it was like a half a mile away from the parking lot, so I usually just peed in the parking lot. I'd pee before bed in the bathroom, but if I had to go in the middle of the night, that's what I would do. And there is one time I got caught by an old lady peeing and I made awkward eye contact for half a second, and it was mortifying. But, you know, it comes with the territory. And then same with brushing my teeth. I'll throw in a clip of me brushing my teeth. I didn't always want to brush my teeth in the public bathrooms, so I did sometimes. It's just kind of awkward when other students come in and see you. I always felt kind of embarrassed brushing my teeth in public because everybody could see you and just be like, oh, I know her situation. Which, you know, if you're cool with it and you don't care what other people think, power to you. Unfortunately, I do care a lot what people think. So when it came to showering and food, I don't know how it is with different colleges. At my college, I think they've been demolishing them since I graduated because that was in the plans. But since my college began as a sort of hippie school, sort of alternative education style place before it became all corporate, they had a couple of transfer buildings where transfers who commuted to school could go in and take showers in the morning and cook. So there was a place with a kitchen and a shower. That's where me and all my other friends would hang out in. Everybody else who was in a car, and also people who lived in the woods. So in the lounge, which we just called the homeless lounge, there was other people going to school, there were people who weren't going to school, but there was access to showers and food, like cooking utensils. If you go to a school that does not have these things, I would definitely suggest going and getting a gym membership in your area so you can have a shower every morning. And then when it comes to cooking, if you can't find places with like a microwave or somewhere where you could plug in a hot stove, then you just have to eat out of cans, which is what I did when I did my cross-country road trip, or other non-cooked goods. If you're willing to shell out the money, you could get a dining hall meal plan, but in my experience, because first year of college they force you to get one, it's way overpriced, the food's not good. I wouldn't suggest that, but if that's, you know, something you're into, that's also an option. So issues that you might come across, it kind of depends on what school you go to, how small of a town it is. When I did my cross-country road trip, I would sometimes sleep at universities, and I have been awakened by security, like on-campus security, and told to move. So I have had that experience at other schools. At my school specifically, like I said, I had a parking permit, but regardless of that, someone else in my little, you know, homeless group was living in his van, and one night he awoke to a group of police officers shaking his van, telling him he needed to get out or they were going to tow his car, which I don't think they have the authority to do given that he had an overnight parking permit and he was on school grounds. He had every right to be there. Yet here these cops were making a big scene in literally the middle of the night, threatening to tow the car. And there were other incidents like that, which I've been awoken by the police on campus one time, but I was really not in the mood for it that morning. So when he was shining his light, I literally just gave him a glare like I was gonna kill him. And he just checked out my permit and he walked away. Sometimes you luck out, sometimes you don't. But also in the homeless lounge, the university was really cracking down. We had these people called, they're CSOs, which stands for Campus Safety Officer, which is just so, I'm sorry, it's really dumb. Basically, it's who people call if they're like upset because their roommate's smoking weed or whatever. It's basically, I mean, you know the deal. After they found out that a lot of homeless people were using the homeless lounge, they really upped their security and they would come by and ask to see IDs, not even just school IDs, but like they would come and ask me, where are you living? Which I would just make up an address and like whatever. But they would basically just try to like figure out who's homeless so they could keep tabs on you. And it was like this whole thing, like it really sucked. The other thing about the lounge is it's been around, you know, forever. and we had a campus worker, not the CSO, like a legit worker, come in, and like he went to Santa Cruz in like the 70s or whatever, and he's like, yeah, like I remember when me and my buddies came here, like we all lived in the woods, and like we'd go to the lounge and have community meals and stuff, you know, similar to what we're doing. And he's like, it was so great back then. Now it's like, you know, surveillance state. Like there's CSOs like chasing people down, like everybody's tracking everything, like, you know, and the whole place was going to get torn down. I haven't been back there, so I don't know if it's torn down yet. It most likely is. But basically it just sucks because the more the university cares about money versus like, you know, its people, that's just the kind of thing that happens. Even though they literally can't house us, they also don't want us to live in the car, which led to the rise of the Snail Movement. So some of the other people in the lounge started a activism group called the Snail Movement, where basically they were asking to be allowed to sleep in their cars and not be harassed by police, because a lot of police harassment was going on. My car is very incognito, that's why I chose this one. But you know, people who live in legit vans obviously faced a lot of confrontation by the police and a lot of empty threats made. So back to the practical stuff, I'm going to talk about cost. Obviously, living in your car is not as expensive as paying rent, but it does come with its own unique costs, aka car insurance and also gas. I didn't drive very much, so I didn't really spend a lot on gas, although of course I drove my friends around if they wanted to because I'm the one with the car. But you know, car maintenance and car insurance is not free, but it is a lot cheaper than rent. When it came to meals, another way that I lucked out, I guess, my last year at college, they implemented this sort of like food bank type thing on campus where they would give canned goods and produce to people, to anybody. You could just go and sign in and get a certain amount of food each day. When it first got implemented, I remember writing in my journal, I was like, this is the first thing I have ever seen the university do to actually like care for its students. Like it's the first positive thing I've seen happen in regards to like student well-being, in regards to anything that doesn't directly correlate with profit. It's the first thing that happened. And so I remember when that first came across, like I was so happy. I think all the UCs were forced to implement it. I think it is a UC-wide thing, but basically I ate for free and so did the other people in the lounge. Like we were all pretty much freegans, so like we would just eat whatever was free. It was also fun hanging out with the other people because we would have community dinners sometimes and like just hang out with each other. When I would wake up in the mornings, also in the parking lot, you know, people are walking. It's a very packed parking lot. They actually sell more permits than they could even have people park. So a lot of people drive up to campus and can't even find parking, and what do? They have to like drive back home or just keep circling around until they find something. That happens literally every morning, which is the other reason it's nice living on campus, because you always have a parking space because you're always there. But in the mornings it's very crowded and people are walking by, and it's always like my windows are tinted, so I could see them and they can't usually see me unless it's very sunny out. But it is kind of awkward, like, you know, taking off your clothes and getting dressed, and other people are like walking by, and then you come out and brush your teeth and everybody could see you, and everyone knew that there was a houseless crisis or whatever going on, and everybody knew that there were people living in their cars. A lot of people talked about it, like with the Snail Movement and everything, so people don't really give you shit for it. They kind of just look the other way. But it can be uncomfortable. Like, you do to a degree have to learn to not care what people think, because people will notice that you're living in your car. The other thing I really liked about living in my car versus when I lived in an apartment the year before is I was able to play guitar all night. I was able to scream and sing at the top of my lungs, and it was really cool. I wrote an EP. I'll link that down below. I think I always bring it up, but I wrote a really crappy DIY acoustic EP, so that was really great. I did feel a lot more free living in my car than I ever have in a leased apartment where there's a landlord breathing down your back. So I don't know a lot of people who live in their cars at other colleges because I don't have a lot of friends, but I do know someone who lived in their car at CSU Channel Islands and they didn't have any issues there. It really just depends on your school. I think overall it's a really good way to not accrue too much student loan debt. I think living in a car is a pretty good option for a society in which we really don't have adequate housing for people, or affordable housing. I mean, it's just kind of the way that it is at this point in history. But that was my experience living in my car in college. I hope you found this helpful. If you like it, make sure to subscribe for more content, and thank you so much for watching.